What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? Imagine building your dreams from the ground up only to watch them crumble in an instant because someone you trusted decided to betray you. Emma Parker had always believed in the power of hard work, in the promise that determination could outshine any obstacle. But that belief was about to be tested in ways she never imagined. The conference room was silent except for the faint tapping of her heart pounding against her ribs. She sat rigid, staring at the cold faces of the board members, all waiting for her to respond to the accusations that had just been thrown at her. "Emma, we've found discrepancies in the investor reports. Can you explain why Victor Drake was given unilateral control over the financial decisions?" The question was sharp, accusatory, and it cut through the room like a blade. She could feel the weight of every eye on her, some filled with doubt, others with suspicion. She opened her mouth, but the words caught in her throat. Victor Drake, the man who once promised to be her partner in building the future, was now the source of her downfall. The betrayal was not just professional, it was personal. His charm had blinded her, his promises had built the foundation of her dreams, and now his deception threatened to destroy everything she had worked for. Emma's mind raced back to just 6 months ago when everything seemed possible. She remembered the late nights coding in her cramped apartment, the endless pitches to skeptical investors, and the hope that finally sparked when Victor walked into her life, offering not just money but mentorship. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Those words echoed in her head, a reminder that despite the chaos, there was still a chance to fight back. Emma took a deep breath and steadied herself. "I had no idea Victor was acting behind my back. I trusted him because I believed in the vision we shared." Her voice trembled but grew stronger as she spoke. The room buzzed with murmurs, some sympathetic, others skeptical. But Emma wasn't ready to give up yet. She knew this was only the beginning of a storm she had to weather. Outside the window, the city lights of San Francisco flickered against the dark sky, a reminder that life moved on, indifferent to individual struggles. Emma's phone buzzed with a message from Mike, her childhood best friend and anchor through every trial. "Don't let them break you. Remember why you started." Those simple words grounded her. She thought about the journey that led her here, the sacrifices her mother made raising her alone in Ohio, the nights she dreamed of changing the world with her ideas. Now, all of that felt fragile, like a house of cards waiting for a gust of wind. But Emma had learned early that giving up was not an option. She had faced loneliness before, the sting of betrayal, and the haunting fear that she wasn't enough. Yet, each time she picked herself up and pushed forward, fueled by something deeper than ambition, a desire to prove to herself and the world that she belonged. The board meeting ended in chaos, but Emma walked out with her head held high, refusing to let the darkness swallow her whole. Outside, the chilly night air bit at her skin, but it also cleared her mind. She knew she had to uncover the truth about Victor before he tore down everything she loved. This was more than a business battle, it was a fight for her soul. What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? That question haunted Emma as she stared into the night, but she refused to let it define her. Instead, she vowed to become stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. The story ahead would reveal 5 unmistakable signs that you're dealing with an evil person, someone like Victor, whose charm masks a darkness most people fail to see until it's too late. Emma's journey was about to begin, and with it, a lesson for everyone who's ever been fooled by a smile hiding a knife. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emma Parker grew up in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio, where the cornfield stretched endlessly beneath open skies and the pace of life was slow enough to hear your own heartbeat. Her childhood was shaped by the steady hands of her mother, Linda, who worked 2 jobs to keep the household running after Emma's father walked away when she was just 7 years old. It wasn't a dramatic disappearance. He just faded from their lives like smoke in the wind, leaving behind a silence that echoed louder than any words. Emma learned early that she couldn't count on everyone to stay, but she also learned to fight quietly, to keep moving even when the world felt heavy. Her mother's sacrifices were woven into every meal cooked late at night, every warm coat folded carefully for winter, and every encouraging word that followed Emma's small triumphs in school. Linda never let Emma forget her worth, even when the nights were long and the bills piled high. "You're stronger than you think," she would say, pressing a kiss to Emma's forehead before the early morning rush. That strength was tested again and again as Emma grew into a bright, curious girl with a mind that refused to settle for the ordinary. She devoured books about science and technology, coding games in the library basement, and dreaming of a life far beyond the cornfields. But with brilliance came loneliness. Emma was often the smartest in the room but struggled to find friends who understood her passion or shared her vision. Her one constant was Mike, a boy from down the street who had been by her side since elementary school. Mike was the steady to her storm, the calm in her chaos. They'd spent countless afternoons building makeshift computers and debating what the future might hold. He believed in her when no one else did, often reminding her, "You've got something special, Em. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Yet, even Mike couldn't shield her from the wounds left by years of feeling abandoned. The ache of her father's absence settled deep in her chest, a quiet ache that made her wary of trusting others fully. She built walls around her heart, walls that success sometimes cracked but never completely tore down. College was a turning point. Emma earned a scholarship to a prestigious tech university where she found herself surrounded by like-minded dreamers and doers. It was there she honed her skills, creating apps and software that caught attention. But the pressure was immense. Competition was fierce, and the fear of failure lurked in every corner. Late nights were filled not only with coding but with doubt, questions about whether she was good enough, smart enough, or deserving of the spotlight she sought. After graduation, Emma moved to San Francisco, a city pulsating with opportunity and danger in equal measure. She founded her startup in a tiny co-working space, pouring every ounce of energy into turning her vision into reality. The tech world was exhilarating but ruthless. She faced rejection after rejection, investors who saw a young woman as a risk rather than an asset, colleagues who underestimated her, and competitors who would do anything to get ahead. Through it all, Emma carried the lessons from her past, the grit instilled by her mother, the unwavering support of Mike, and the fire fueled by the empty space left by her father. But beneath the surface, a quiet vulnerability lingered, one she rarely let anyone see. It was this mix of strength and fragility that made Emma who she was, and it was this combination that would soon make her both a target and a survivor. When Victor Drake entered her life, he seemed like the answer to all her prayers. Tall, charismatic, with a reputation as a savvy investor and visionary entrepreneur, Victor had the kind of presence that made rooms fall silent. He praised her ideas, offered mentorship, and opened doors that had been slammed shut before. Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she'd found a partner who could help her reach the stars. But underneath the polished exterior was a darkness Emma was blind to at first. Victor's charm was a mask for control and manipulation, a tactic that preyed on her insecurities and ambitions. Slowly, the lines between professional guidance and personal intrusion blurred. Emma found herself second-guessing decisions, doubting her instincts, and isolating from the very people who had kept her grounded. The tension crept in like a shadow, growing heavier with each passing day. Yet, the promise of success was a powerful drug, and Emma clung to hope, even when signs whispered caution. In her quiet moments, she reflected on what love and trust meant to her, lessons learned from a mother's unconditional support and the loyalty of a lifelong friend. She realized she wanted not just to succeed but to do so on her own terms, without losing herself in the process. The stage was set for a collision between ambition and betrayal, between the person she aspired to be and the forces threatening to pull her under. Emma's story was not just about a woman in tech, it was about anyone who has faced hardship, who has loved and lost, who has dared to dream despite the odds. And as the days ahead would show, understanding the past was the first step in recognizing the signs of an evil person lurking beneath a smile, ready to deceive and destroy. Through her journey, Emma would come to see that the greatest battles are often fought within, and that the strength to overcome lies in the lessons we carry with us from the life we've lived. Emma's startup had always been a beacon of hope, a testament to what hard work and vision could create in a world that often favored the privileged. But as the company grew, so did the shadows lurking behind the scenes. Victor Drake, once a beacon of opportunity, had slowly begun to reveal cracks in his carefully constructed facade. What started as subtle disagreements about strategy escalated into a web of tension that threatened to unravel everything Emma had built. At first, the conflicts seemed manageable. Victor insisted on pushing the company towards aggressive expansion, prioritizing rapid growth over sustainable practices. Emma, cautious and principled, worried about the consequences. Their arguments became heated boardroom battles, each word charged with frustration and disbelief. Emma tried to reason, but Victor dismissed her concerns with a smile that never reached his eyes. The turning point came during a late-night meeting when Victor blindsided her with a decision to cut crucial employee benefits to save costs. The room, filled with nervous staff, fell silent as Emma struggled to mask her shock and anger. She confronted Victor, demanding transparency and respect for the team's well-being. His response was chillingly cold. "Business isn't charity, Emma. If you want to survive, you need to make hard choices." That night, Emma's hope flickered but did not die. She found solace in Mike's unwavering support. Over coffee in their favorite cafe, Mike listened patiently as she poured out her fears and frustrations. "You're not alone in this. Remember, the first sign of a toxic person is how they try to isolate you from your support." His words echoed in her mind as she reflected on Victor's increasing attempts to distance her from the team and even from Mike himself. As weeks passed, the tension deepened. Victor's subtle manipulations became more apparent. He spread rumors questioning Emma's competence, sowed discord among team members, and insisted on reviewing every detail of her work, undermining her confidence. The atmosphere in the office grew toxic, a place where trust once flourished but now withered under suspicion. Emma grappled with doubt. Was she imagining things, or was Victor truly an obstacle to her dream? The second sign became clear during a crisis when the company's server crashed, threatening to lose months of work. Instead of rallying together, Victor coldly prioritized damage control over people's emotional turmoil, dismissing their distress as irrelevant. His lack of empathy was stark, a glaring contrast to Emma's belief in leading with heart. The revelation hurt deeply, shaking Emma's faith in the man she once saw as an ally. The third sign came with betrayal. Emma discovered that Victor had secretly shared proprietary technology with a competitor, a move that could destroy their competitive edge. The revelation was a gut punch, leaving her reeling from the depths of his deceit. Confronting Victor only led to further manipulation. He twisted facts, gaslighted Emma, and portrayed himself as the victim of her mistrust. The emotional toll was immense. Nights became sleepless battles against anxiety and fear. Yet, even in darkness, Emma found glimmers of hope. Her team, though shaken, stood by her, and Mike's words remained a lifeline. The fourth sign was the emotional abuse that crept into their interactions. Victor's words cut deep, designed to erode Emma's self-worth and isolate her further. He questioned her decisions publicly, dismissed her ideas, and used intimidation to maintain control. It was a subtle war waged in smiles and silences, leaving scars invisible to outsiders but deeply felt within. In the quiet moments, Emma wrestled with her own doubts, questioning if she was strong enough to withstand the storm. But the fifth and most dangerous sign came unexpectedly. Victor's readiness to destroy anyone who opposed him manifested in threats not just to her career but to her safety. A late-night encounter in the parking garage left Emma shaken, a stark reminder that evil wears many masks and often strikes when least expected. Faced with this new reality, Emma realized she had to act decisively. She couldn't let fear dictate her life or allow Victor to continue his reign of manipulation. With the help of trusted allies, she began gathering evidence to expose him, navigating a labyrinth of legal and emotional challenges. Each step was fraught with risk, but Emma's determination burned brighter than ever. The journey was harrowing, filled with moments of doubt, flashes of courage, and a growing understanding of the complex nature of evil. Emma learned that evil is not always loud and obvious, it often hides behind charm and smiles, preying on trust and exploiting vulnerabilities. But she also discovered the power of resilience, community, and self-awareness. Through this battle, Emma transformed from a hopeful entrepreneur into a fierce warrior for truth and justice. Her story serves as a warning and a guide, revealing 5 unmistakable signs of dealing with an evil person: isolation, lack of empathy, betrayal, emotional abuse, and dangerous intentions. Emma's experience is a testament to the strength that lies within those who refuse to be fooled, who stand up against darkness, and who choose hope over despair. This chapter of her life was just the beginning of a journey toward healing, growth, and a new vision of success, one built not on manipulation, but on integrity and love. Emma's decision to confront Victor marked a turning point, but it also plunged her into a world more complicated and treacherous than she had anticipated. As the lines between ally and enemy blurred, she realized that the battle was not just external. It was a war waged within her own heart and mind. The days that followed were a whirlwind of tension and uncertainty. Victor's manipulations intensified as he sensed her growing resistance. He wielded charm like a weapon, turning colleagues against her with whispered rumors and calculated half-truths. Emma found herself navigating a maze of deception, unsure whom to trust. The atmosphere at the startup shifted from hopeful excitement to a battlefield strewn with emotional landmines. Meetings became tests of endurance where every word was weighed and every glance scrutinized. Emma's resilience was tested as she struggled to maintain control over her vision and her company. The first major test came when a trusted team member unexpectedly sided with Victor, delivering confidential information that compromised Emma's plans. The sting of betrayal cut deep, echoing the wounds of her childhood abandonment. But this time, Emma refused to retreat. Instead, she channeled her pain into determination. She called an emergency meeting, laying bare the situation to her remaining loyal team members. Her honesty and vulnerability rekindled their faith in her leadership. They rallied around Emma, strengthening their resolve to protect the company's integrity. Yet, the cost was high. Emma's emotional and physical health suffered as stress and sleepless nights became constant companions. She grappled with moments of doubt, questioning whether her fight was worth the toll it took. But every time despair threatened to overwhelm her, she remembered Mike's unwavering support and her mother's words, "You're stronger than you think." The second sign of Victor's evil nature became increasingly clear in these moments, the chilling absence of empathy. During a critical phase when the company faced external threats from competitors and financial instability, Victor's sole focus was on personal gain. He dismissed the fears and concerns of employees, viewing them as expendable assets rather than people. Emma witnessed firsthand his ruthless prioritization of profits over people, a stark contrast to her own values. This lack of empathy was not just a flaw but a weapon used to manipulate and control. She began documenting incidents, knowing that evidence would be crucial to expose him. As the tension escalated, Emma experienced the third sign, the deep sting of betrayal. She uncovered documents revealing Victor's secret negotiations with rival firms, sharing proprietary technology and plans to undermine her company's future. The revelation shattered the fragile trust she had clung to. Confronting Victor led to a toxic exchange where he twisted the truth and gaslighted her into questioning her perceptions. This emotional manipulation left Emma feeling isolated and vulnerable. Yet, amid the chaos, she found strength in unexpected places. Late-night calls with Mike and heartfelt conversations with her mother became lifelines, grounding her in reality and reminding her of her worth. Emma also began to recognize the fourth sign, the subtle but devastating emotional abuse. Victor's tactics evolved into psychological warfare designed to erode her confidence and autonomy. He publicly belittled her ideas, dismissed her authority, and used intimidation to maintain control. These assaults were calculated to make her doubt herself and withdraw from those who supported her. Emma's inner battle was as fierce as the external one. She struggled to hold on to her identity and values while navigating a toxic environment that sought to consume her spirit. The fifth and most alarming sign emerged when Victor's behavior crossed into dangerous territory. His willingness to threaten and harm those who opposed him became evident in a chilling encounter in the company parking garage. Emma narrowly escaped a confrontation that left her shaken to her core. This moment crystallized the reality of the evil she faced, not just as a business adversary but as a threat to her safety and well-being. Determined not to be a victim, Emma took decisive action. She enlisted legal counsel and began collecting irrefutable evidence to bring Victor's misdeeds to light. The process was arduous and fraught with risk, but her resolve never wavered. Alongside this battle, Emma's personal growth accelerated. She reconnected with her roots, strengthening bonds with family and friends who reminded her of the love and support that had always been her foundation. She embraced vulnerability as a source of strength, learning that asking for help was not a sign of weakness but a testament to courage. Emma's journey through darkness was transformative. She emerged not just as a survivor but as a leader with renewed clarity and purpose. Her experience illuminated the insidious nature of evil disguised as charm and the importance of recognizing the 5 critical signs before it's too late. The story she lived and shared is a beacon for anyone navigating treacherous relationships, personal or professional. It teaches that evil thrives in isolation, exploits the absence of empathy, thrives on betrayal, wields emotional abuse, and crosses lines into dangerous actions. But most importantly, it shows that with awareness, support, and unwavering courage, it is possible to confront and overcome even the darkest forces. Emma's battle was far from over, but with each step forward, she reclaimed her power and her dream. Her story continues, a testament to resilience and the unbreakable human spirit. Emma's path to reclaiming her life and company was fraught with challenges that tested every ounce of her strength and wisdom. As she prepared to expose Victor's deceit, she understood that the stakes were higher than ever, not just for her, but for everyone who had invested their trust and hopes in the startup. The first step was gathering evidence. Emma spent countless nights poring over emails, contracts, and financial records, meticulously piecing together the puzzle of Victor's betrayal. The deeper she dug, the clearer the extent of his manipulation became. Hidden accounts, falsified documents, and secret communications with competitors painted a disturbing picture of a man who had never been committed to their shared vision. Emma's resolve hardened. She knew she couldn't do this alone. She reached out to Sarah, a former corporate attorney and trusted mentor, whose keen eye and experience proved invaluable. Sarah helped Emma navigate the legal labyrinth, ensuring that every piece of evidence was collected ethically and securely. Their collaboration breathed new life into Emma's fight. Meanwhile, Emma worked to rebuild the morale of her team. She held an open meeting, laying bare the truth about Victor's actions and reaffirming her commitment to transparency and integrity. Her honesty inspired renewed loyalty and unity, transforming fear and doubt into collective strength. Yet, the emotional toll was undeniable. Emma grappled with waves of anger, sadness, and exhaustion. She confided in Mike, whose unwavering support remained her anchor. "You're not just fighting for your company," he reminded her, "you're fighting for yourself." This mantra kept Emma grounded as the legal battle unfolded. Victor's response was predictable and ruthless. He launched a smear campaign, spreading false accusations and attempting to discredit Emma's leadership. The media caught wind of the internal turmoil, casting a shadow over the startup's reputation. Emma faced public scrutiny with a mix of vulnerability and determination, refusing to let fear silence her truth. The pressure mounted, but so did Emma's inner growth. She sought therapy to process the trauma and strengthen her resilience. Through counseling, Emma learned to set boundaries, recognize unhealthy patterns, and rebuild trust, not just in others, but in herself. The journey was painful but necessary, marking a profound transformation from victim to empowered survivor. As the case progressed, the court hearings became a battleground of facts and emotions. Victor's charm was on full display, but so was Emma's unwavering honesty and evidence-backed resolve. Witnesses came forward, and the truth began to pierce the veil of deception. The climax arrived in a tense courtroom session when the judge ruled in Emma's favor, ordering Victor to relinquish control of the company and face consequences for his actions. The verdict was a victory not just for Emma, but for justice and integrity. In the aftermath, Emma focused on healing and rebuilding. She redefined success on her own terms, prioritizing a company culture rooted in respect, empathy, and collaboration. The scars left by Victor's betrayal were reminders of the journey, but they no longer defined her. Emma also became an advocate, sharing her story to raise awareness about the signs of toxic and evil behavior in personal and professional relationships. She spoke at conferences, contributed to podcasts, and mentored other entrepreneurs navigating similar challenges. Her message was clear, recognizing the 5 signs: isolation, lack of empathy, betrayal, emotional abuse, and dangerous intentions, can save lives and livelihoods. Emma's transformation was profound. From a bright-eyed entrepreneur to a fierce leader shaped by adversity, she embodied resilience and hope. Her story is a testament to the power of self-awareness, community, and courage in overcoming even the darkest forces. As Emma looked toward the future, she knew that life was unpredictable and full of surprises, but she carried with her an unshakable belief that love, integrity, and perseverance would always lead the way. The lessons she learned from betrayal became the foundation of a new beginning, not just for her company, but for herself and everyone inspired by her journey. And so, Emma's story continues, a beacon for those who dare to dream, to fight, and to rise above the shadows cast by evil. Emma's life after the legal victory over Victor felt like stepping into sunlight after years spent in shadow. The company she had nurtured from an idea into a promising startup was no longer under the threat of destruction, but now, it was hers to rebuild, and to transform. The experience had changed her, not just as a businesswoman, but as a person. She was no longer the young, hopeful entrepreneur who had once been blinded by charm and ambition. She was a woman tempered by hardship, forged by betrayal, and inspired by survival. Emma knew that healing was a process, one that would not happen overnight. The first step was rebuilding trust within her team. She held a series of open forums, encouraging employees to share their fears, hopes, and ideas for the future. The wounds Victor left ran deep, but Emma's commitment to transparency and empathy began to stitch those wounds closed. She worked hard to foster a culture where every voice mattered, where respect and kindness were as vital as innovation and productivity. Slowly, the office atmosphere shifted from wary tension to energized collaboration. Emma also recommitted herself to the values that had first drawn her to technology, the power to create, to connect, and to solve problems that mattered. She poured her energy into projects with social impact, leveraging the startup's platform to support causes close to her heart, such as mental health awareness and women's empowerment. This new mission gave her work deeper meaning, and it attracted partners and investors who shared her vision for ethical innovation. In her personal life, Emma sought balance and renewal. She reconnected with her mother, Linda, whose quiet strength had always been a beacon. They spent weekends hiking the trails of Ohio's countryside, talking about life, loss, and the future. Emma also nurtured her friendship with Mike, whose loyalty had never wavered. Their bond deepened, rooted in shared history and mutual respect. For Emma, this period was about rediscovering joy and trust, 2 things Victor had tried to steal. Through therapy and self-reflection, she worked to heal the invisible scars left by emotional abuse. She learned to recognize unhealthy patterns and to set firm boundaries, protecting her heart as fiercely as she did her company. Emma's growth was not just about survival but about transformation. She began mentoring other young women in tech, sharing her story candidly to help them recognize and resist toxic relationships, whether personal or professional. Her talks emphasized the 5 signs she had come to understand all too well: isolation, lack of empathy, betrayal, emotional abuse, and dangerous intentions. Emma's vulnerability inspired others, creating a ripple effect of awareness and empowerment in a field often dominated by harsh competition and silence around mental health. As the startup thrived under Emma's leadership, she was approached by a prominent technology conference to deliver the keynote speech. The invitation was both an honor and a challenge. Standing on the stage before a sea of eager faces, Emma felt the weight of her journey but also the exhilaration of sharing hard-earned wisdom. She spoke not just about technology, but about resilience, trust, and the courage to stand up against evil, even when it hides behind smiles and power. We all face people who seek to manipulate and control, she told the audience. But recognizing the signs early can save us from years of pain. Don't let charm blind you. Trust your instincts, surround yourself with true allies, and never forget your worth. The speech was met with standing ovations and heartfelt messages from attendees who saw their own struggles in Emma's story. It marked a new chapter, not only for her career but for her mission to create a safer, more compassionate tech community. Emma's journey had come full circle, from a girl who dreamed of changing the world to a woman who had survived its harshest lessons and emerged stronger. Her story was a beacon of hope and a guide for anyone navigating the complex, often treacherous terrain of human relationships. She understood now more than ever that evil thrives in silence and isolation but that courage, connection, and truth could shatter its hold. Emma's life was a testament to the power of resilience and the enduring truth that love, integrity, and perseverance would always lead the way, even when faced with the darkest forces. As she looked ahead, she embraced uncertainty with confidence, knowing that every challenge was an opportunity for growth and every ending the seed of a new beginning. And so, Emma's story continued, not as a tale of victimhood, but as a powerful narrative of survival, transformation, and hope. Emma's renewed journey was far from easy, yet it carried a profound sense of purpose that kept her moving forward. Despite the victories, the shadows cast by her ordeal lingered, reminding her that healing was not a linear path. Some days were filled with hope and confidence, others were clouded by doubt and lingering fear. She learned to honor both, embracing vulnerability as part of her strength. One morning, while reviewing new project proposals, Emma received an unexpected message from an old friend, Rachel, a former colleague who had left the tech world behind after a similar experience with a toxic partner. Rachel's message was simple but powerful. Emma, your story gave me the courage to reclaim my life. I'm ready to share mine. This connection sparked a new idea. Emma realized that her mission extended beyond her company. She envisioned a platform dedicated to helping those caught in toxic or abusive relationships, whether at work or home, recognize the signs and find support. The platform would offer resources, community forums, expert advice, and personal stories like hers and Rachel's. Over the following months, Emma poured her energy into building this new venture, which she named Lightpath. It was a beacon for those navigating darkness, a digital sanctuary where survivors could find strength and solidarity. Emma carefully curated a team passionate about mental health, social justice, and technology, ensuring that Lightpath embodied the values she held dear. The launch was met with overwhelming response. Messages poured in from people across the country, sharing stories of struggle and hope, asking for help, and offering support to others. Emma found herself at the center of a movement, one that transcended business and technology to touch lives in deeply personal ways. As Lightpath grew, Emma continued to speak out about the 5 signs of evil behavior: isolation, lack of empathy, betrayal, emotional abuse, and dangerous intentions. She emphasized that these signs often appear subtly, masked by charm or ambition, but recognizing them early can save lives. Emma's story became a rallying cry, encouraging people to trust their instincts and seek help. Meanwhile, Emma maintained her leadership at the startup, which had stabilized and was beginning to flourish anew. She implemented policies prioritizing employee well-being, transparency, and ethical growth. She also introduced mentorship programs, fostering a culture where young professionals could learn and grow without fear of exploitation. The balance between both roles was challenging but fulfilling. Emma's personal growth was equally remarkable. She cultivated mindfulness and self-care routines, understanding that her strength depended on nurturing her mind and body. Yoga, journaling, and long walks in nature became essential parts of her life. Her relationship with Mike blossomed into a partnership based on mutual respect, honesty, and shared dreams. They planned future adventures, both personal and professional, confident in their ability to face whatever came next together. Emma's mother, Linda, watched with pride as her daughter transformed pain into purpose. Their bond deepened, filled with gratitude and hope. Emma often reflected on the journey that had brought her here, from the naive optimism of her youth through the betrayal and darkness, to the light she now carried within. One evening, at a charity gala for mental health awareness, Emma shared the stage with Rachel and other survivors who had found strength through LightPath. Their stories intertwined, creating a tapestry of resilience and courage that moved the audience to tears. Emma's closing words echoed long after the event ended: "We are not defined by what we endure but by how we rise. When we recognize the signs of evil, when we reach out and connect, we reclaim our power and light the way for others. Together, we are unstoppable." The ripple effect of Emma's work was undeniable. Communities formed, policies changed, and conversations about toxic relationships, once taboo, became more open and supportive. Emma continued to advocate tirelessly, her voice a beacon for those still trapped in silence. As she stood on the balcony of her office overlooking the city skyline one crisp autumn evening, Emma felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been arduous, filled with pain and loss, but it had also forged a new path, one illuminated by resilience, love, and unwavering hope. She knew challenges would come, as they always do, but Emma was ready. Armed with the lessons of her past and the support of a community she helped build, she was confident that no darkness could ever fool her again. Emma's story is a testament to the strength within us all, a reminder that even in the face of evil, we can choose to rise, to heal, and to lead others out of the shadows. The 5 signs are not just warnings but keys to survival and empowerment. And through sharing her journey, Emma ensured that no one would have to face those signs alone. Life is unpredictable, but love and integrity will always lead the way. Emma's momentum with LightPath and her startup continued to build, yet beneath the surface, new challenges brewed, reminders that the scars from her past would not fade easily. The most daunting challenge came in the form of a new adversary, someone who embodied the very signs of evil Emma had come to recognize but disguised them beneath a veneer of charm and influence. His name was Jason Carter, a high-profile investor known for turning struggling startups into overnight successes. When Jason expressed interest in investing in Emma's company and supporting LightPath, many saw it as a golden opportunity. But Emma's instincts, sharpened by past experience, warned her to proceed with caution. Jason was charismatic and persuasive, effortlessly drawing people in with his confidence and vision. Yet beneath the surface, Emma detected the familiar signs: subtle isolation tactics, a lack of empathy cloaked in business pragmatism, and a tendency to sow discord among team members to strengthen his own position. Unlike Victor, Jason operated in shadows, his manipulations more sophisticated and less overt. Emma observed as he subtly undermined her trusted advisors, planting seeds of doubt and creating divisions. His emotional abuse came in the form of veiled criticisms and gaslighting, making Emma question her decisions and judgment. Despite the mounting pressure, Emma refused to be fooled. She set boundaries early, insisting on transparent agreements and involving her legal counsel in every negotiation. She continued to educate her team about the signs of toxic behavior, fostering vigilance and unity. However, Jason's influence spread, creating fractures that tested Emma's leadership. The tension culminated in a crucial board meeting, where Jason attempted to push through decisions that favored his interests at the expense of the company's values. Emma stood firm, armed with evidence and unwavering conviction. The confrontation was intense, a battle of wills that left the room charged with electricity. In that moment, Emma realized that evil often comes disguised in layers, adapting to the situation and the people it seeks to control. But her clarity and courage prevailed. Jason's proposals were rejected, and he was removed from the board. The victory was hard-won, leaving Emma exhausted but resolute. This new ordeal deepened Emma's understanding of the complexity of evil in human relationships. It was not always loud or obvious, often, it was subtle, insidious, and difficult to detect. She reinforced her message in her public talks and on Lightpath, emphasizing the importance of trusting one's intuition and seeking support when something feels off. Meanwhile, Emma's personal life flourished in its own quiet way. She and Mike moved into a cozy home near the city park, creating a sanctuary filled with laughter, plants, and books. They hosted dinners for friends and family, building a community grounded in love and respect. Emma found joy in the simple moments. A morning coffee on the porch, walks through changing seasons, and the steady presence of people who truly cared. Through therapy and mindfulness, she continued to heal old wounds and embrace her strengths. She no longer carried the weight of past betrayals alone but shared it with those who uplifted her. The balance between Emma's public mission and private life was delicate but nourishing. Her work with Lightpath expanded to include partnerships with schools, nonprofits, and corporations, promoting education about emotional abuse and toxic behavior from an early age. Emma believed that prevention was as crucial as recovery. She launched workshops and online courses designed to equip individuals with tools to recognize red flags and foster healthy relationships. The impact was profound, touching thousands and creating a ripple effect of awareness and change. One particularly meaningful moment came when Emma received a letter from a young woman named Alyssa, who credited Lightpath with helping her escape a dangerous relationship. Alyssa's words were raw and heartfelt. "Your story gave me hope when I had none. I found the courage to leave and to believe in a future free from fear. Thank you for lighting the way." Letters like Alyssa's reaffirmed Emma's purpose and fueled her determination to keep pushing forward. As Emma reflected on the journey, she recognized that the fight against evil was ongoing and multifaceted. It required vigilance, community, education, and above all, compassion, for oneself and others. She knew the 5 signs were guides, not guarantees, and that each situation demanded courage and discernment. Emma's story, once marked by loss and betrayal, had evolved into a beacon of hope and empowerment. Through her experiences, she had become a voice for the voiceless, a leader in the fight against manipulation and abuse, and a living example of resilience. Standing on the stage of a major global conference, Emma shared these insights with thousands of listeners from around the world. Her message was clear. Evil can wear many masks, but it thrives only in silence and isolation. Together, by recognizing the signs and supporting one another, we can dismantle its power. Remember, your intuition is a powerful ally. Trust it. Seek help. And never forget, you are never alone. The applause was thunderous, but Emma's greatest reward was the knowledge that her story had sparked change far beyond what she had imagined. The journey had not ended, it was an ongoing movement fueled by collective strength and shared humanity. Emma's life was a testament to the enduring truth that even in the face of darkness, love, integrity, and courage light the path forward. And so, she continued, leading, healing, and inspiring, unwavering in her commitment to create a world where no one would ever be fooled again. Emma's battle against Jason had left her wary but more determined than ever to protect her vision and the people who trusted her leadership. Yet, as she focused on strengthening her company and Lightpath, another challenge emerged, one that cut deeper and tested the very foundation of her resilience. The challenge was betrayal from within, a painful reminder that evil can sometimes come cloaked in familiarity and trust. One of Emma's closest confidants, Daniel, a longtime advisor and friend who had been instrumental in building the company's early successes, began exhibiting troubling behavior. At first, it was subtle, missed meetings, vague excuses, and a growing distance that Emma attributed to stress or burnout. But soon, Daniel's actions betrayed a darker intent. He started undermining key decisions, leaking confidential information to competitors, and sowing discord among team members. The revelation hit Emma like a punch to the gut. Daniel was not just a colleague. He was someone she had trusted implicitly, someone who had stood by her during the darkest days with Victor and Jason. Confronting this betrayal required Emma to confront a painful truth about human nature and the vulnerability inherent in trust. The signs Daniel exhibited echoed the patterns Emma had learned to recognize: subtle isolation tactics, lack of empathy, and dangerous intentions disguised behind a friendly facade. This experience crystallized for Emma that evil is not always loud or obvious, it can be quiet, insidious, and deeply personal. Emma's response was measured but firm. She convened a confidential meeting with the board and legal counsel, gathering evidence and outlining the impact of Daniel's actions. Though emotionally taxing, Emma maintained her composure and leadership, refusing to let personal feelings cloud her judgment. Daniel was asked to step down immediately, and legal action was taken to protect the company's assets and reputation. The fallout was painful. Team morale wavered, and Emma faced questions and doubts not just from employees but from herself. She wrestled with feelings of disappointment and grief, yet she also recognized that growth often comes through pain. Emma leaned on Mike, her mother, and her therapist, drawing strength from their unwavering support. In the aftermath, Emma intensified her efforts to cultivate a transparent, supportive company culture. She implemented stricter security protocols and created channels for employees to report concerns safely and anonymously. Emma also expanded LightPath's resources to include education about workplace betrayal and the complexities of trust. Through workshops and seminars, she helped others understand how to navigate these difficult dynamics with awareness and resilience. Emma's personal growth deepened as well. She embraced forgiveness, not for Daniel's sake, but to release herself from bitterness and pain. Forgiveness became a tool for liberation, allowing her to move forward with clarity and compassion. Emma also redoubled her commitment to self-care and mindfulness, recognizing that healing was ongoing and required nurturing both heart and mind. Her relationship with Mike grew stronger through this period of vulnerability and honesty. Together, they navigated the ups and downs of life, creating a partnership rooted in trust and mutual respect. Emma's mother remained a steady presence, her quiet wisdom a source of comfort and guidance. Professionally, Emma's experiences with betrayal and recovery enriched her public speaking and advocacy. She shared her evolving understanding of the 5 signs of evil, emphasizing that recognizing these signs is an ongoing process requiring vigilance and courage. Emma's message resonated deeply with audiences, many of whom faced similar challenges in their own lives. As LightPath expanded, Emma forged partnerships with mental health organizations, educational institutions, and corporate leaders to promote healthy relationships and workplace environments. She saw these efforts as essential steps toward a broader cultural shift, one where empathy, integrity, and accountability became the norm rather than the exception. One of the most touching moments in Emma's journey came during a LightPath retreat designed for survivors of betrayal and abuse. Emma listened as participants shared their stories, their pain, and their hope. The room was filled with raw emotion and healing energy. Emma realized that her own story had become part of a larger tapestry of resilience and transformation, weaving connections that transcended individual experience. Emma's vision for the future was clear. She envisioned a world where no one had to suffer in silence, where education and community could dismantle the power of evil before it took root. She dreamed of a society where people were empowered to trust their intuition, set boundaries, and seek help without fear or shame. Emma's journey, from the initial shock of betrayal by Victor, through the cunning manipulations of Jason, to the painful treachery of Daniel, had taught her invaluable lessons about human nature, strength, and hope. Her story was a beacon for anyone who had ever felt lost, deceived, or powerless. Emma understood that life's unpredictability was inevitable, but she believed with unwavering conviction that love, integrity, and courage would always light the way forward. As she stood on the precipice of new ventures and challenges, Emma carried with her the wisdom of her experiences and the support of a community she had helped build. She was ready to face whatever came next, not as a victim, but as a leader, a survivor, and a source of inspiration. And so, Emma's story continued, a powerful testament to the enduring human spirit and the transformative power of recognizing the signs, standing firm, and choosing light over darkness. Emma's experience with betrayal had sharpened her insight into human nature and strengthened her resolve, but life had a way of challenging even the strongest among us. As Lightpath gained traction and her startup flourished, Emma began to realize that recognizing evil was only one part of the journey. Confronting it within herself and her closest relationships was equally vital. One evening, after a long day of meetings and strategy sessions, Emma received a message that shook her. An anonymous tip suggested that Mike, her partner and closest ally, might be hiding secrets that could jeopardize everything they had built together. The revelation threw Emma into turmoil. Mike had been her rock through thick and thin, the person she trusted most. Could this be true? Or was it a manipulation, a test of her fears shaped by past betrayals? Emma's mind raced through possibilities, but she knew one thing for certain: she had to face this head-on, with courage and clarity. Rather than succumbing to suspicion or fear, Emma decided to confront the situation with openness. She invited Mike to talk, seeking honesty and transparency above all else. The conversation was difficult, filled with tension, vulnerability, and raw emotion. Mike admitted to mistakes from his past, poor decisions he had kept hidden, not out of malice but shame and fear of losing Emma's trust. He had made financial missteps before they met, mistakes that didn't reflect who he was now but still carried consequences. Emma listened carefully, weighing her pain against the man she knew today. This moment became a crucible for their relationship, testing the very foundations of trust and forgiveness. Emma realized that evil wasn't always external. Sometimes, it lurked within us as fear, secrets, or unresolved guilt. The ability to confront these shadows with compassion was crucial to healing and growth. Together, Emma and Mike committed to transparency and rebuilding trust, seeking counseling and establishing open communication. This process deepened their bond, teaching them that true partnership is forged through honesty and resilience. Meanwhile, Emma's work with Lightpath took on new dimensions. She began addressing the complexities of forgiveness and self-awareness, recognizing that surviving evil also meant confronting our own imperfections and fears. The platform expanded to include resources on personal growth, relationship dynamics, and emotional intelligence. Emma's advocacy resonated with a broad audience, people not only dealing with toxic others but also striving to understand themselves better. As Lightpath's influence grew, Emma collaborated with psychologists, counselors, and community leaders to develop comprehensive programs aimed at prevention, healing, and empowerment. Workshops, webinars, and support groups flourished, creating a vibrant ecosystem of care and education. Emma also continued speaking globally, sharing her evolving insights. At a major conference on mental health and leadership, she addressed thousands. Evil is not just about others' actions, it's also about how we respond to pain and fear within ourselves. Recognizing this is the key to true healing and transformation. The audience responded with standing ovations and heartfelt reflections, many sharing their own journeys of self-discovery and forgiveness. Emma's personal growth echoed in her leadership style, more empathetic, patient, and wise. She encouraged her team to embrace vulnerability as strength and fostered a culture where mistakes were met with understanding, not judgment. Her startup thrived as a place of innovation and compassion, proving that success and humanity could coexist. One poignant moment came when Emma received a message from a young entrepreneur who credited Lightpath with helping her navigate a toxic work environment and personal insecurities. "Your story helped me see that healing is possible. Not just from others' betrayals but from my own fears," she wrote. Emma's heart swelled with gratitude and purpose. Through all the trials, betrayals, and challenges, Emma had become a beacon not only of survival but of transformation and hope. She understood now that life's complexities required courage to face both external threats and internal shadows. As autumn turned to winter, Emma and Mike moved forward, stronger, more connected, and committed to building a future grounded in love, trust, and authenticity. Emma's story was no longer just about recognizing evil, it was about embracing the full spectrum of human experience and choosing light at every turn. Her journey stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of compassion, forgiveness, and unwavering hope. And with that, Emma looked ahead, ready to continue inspiring others to face their own battles, recognize the signs, and find their own paths to healing and freedom. Emma's journey toward healing and leadership was increasingly intertwined with her growing awareness of the complexities of human behavior, especially the nuanced ways evil manifests not only in others but within ourselves and the environments we create. After confronting the challenges posed by Jason, Daniel, and even the hidden fears surrounding Mike, Emma recognized a new frontier of growth, transforming the culture around her, starting with her company and expanding outward to communities at large. She understood that to truly combat toxic behavior, it wasn't enough to react or survive. There needed to be a proactive effort to foster environments that nurture trust, empathy, and resilience from the ground up. With this vision, Emma launched a groundbreaking initiative within her startup called the Empathy Project. It was designed to reshape workplace dynamics through comprehensive training, emotional intelligence development, and peer support networks. The goal was to create a culture where individuals recognized early signs of toxic behavior, not to police each other but to empower collective responsibility and safety. Emma brought in experts, psychologists, organizational behavior specialists, and survivors of emotional abuse, to design workshops and interactive sessions that challenged traditional notions of leadership and success. The response was immediate and profound. Employees began to open up in new ways, sharing experiences and insights that fostered deeper connections and trust. Conflicts were approached not as battles but as opportunities for understanding and growth. The Empathy Project quickly became a model for other startups and corporations seeking to cultivate healthier environments in a world often marked by competition and cutthroat tactics. Emma's leadership style evolved alongside the initiative. She practiced radical transparency, sharing her own story candidly with her team. Her mistakes, vulnerabilities, and triumphs. This openness inspired others to bring their authentic selves to work, breaking down the masks that often conceal pain and fear. Outside the company, LightPath expanded its reach by partnering with schools and community organizations to educate young people about emotional health, boundaries, and recognizing unhealthy relationships early on. Emma knew that prevention was as vital as healing. Workshops were tailored for parents, educators, and youth, emphasizing empathy, communication, and respect. One memorable session took place at a high school auditorium where Emma spoke to hundreds of teenagers. She shared her story and the 5 signs of evil behavior, engaging the audience with questions and encouraging open dialogue. A young girl raised her hand afterward and said, "I didn't know what I was feeling was wrong until now. I feel like I can protect myself better." Moments like these filled Emma with renewed purpose. She realized that her mission had blossomed into a movement, one that transcended personal pain to inspire collective transformation. Yet, even as Emma celebrated these successes, she remained grounded in the reality that the fight against toxic behavior and evil was ongoing and multifaceted. There were setbacks and difficult days. Some employees struggled to embrace vulnerability, old patterns of mistrust sometimes re-emerged. Emma addressed these with patience and commitment, reinforcing that change is a process, not an event. On a personal level, Emma continued to cultivate her own emotional resilience. She deepened her mindfulness practice, spending quiet mornings journaling and reflecting. She and Mike explored new ways to nurture their relationship, attending couples therapy and planning adventures that reinforced their bond. Her relationship with her mother, Linda, grew richer as well, built on shared history and mutual respect. Emma's story caught the attention of a major publishing house, which offered her a book deal to chronicle her journey in detail. Emma embraced this opportunity, seeing it as another platform to reach and empower people worldwide. Writing the book was both cathartic and challenging, requiring her to revisit painful memories while distilling lessons and hope. As the manuscript neared completion, Emma was invited to speak at an international summit on women's leadership and mental health. Standing before thousands, she reflected on the themes that had defined her journey. Recognizing the subtle signs of evil, confronting betrayal with courage, and fostering empathy and resilience as antidotes to darkness. "We cannot change what we do not acknowledge," she told the audience. "But we can choose how we respond. We can build communities where love and integrity flourish, where no one has to suffer in silence." The crowd erupted in applause, many moved to tears. Emma knew that her story was no longer just hers, it belonged to everyone who had faced darkness and chosen to rise. As winter gave way to spring, Emma's life was a tapestry of growth, challenge, and hope. Lightpath had become a beacon for thousands, the Empathy Project was reshaping workplaces, her personal relationships thrived in authenticity and trust. Yet, Emma remained vigilant. She understood that evil often adapts, finding new ways to infiltrate and divide. Her mission was never finished. One quiet evening, as she walked through a blooming park near her home, Emma felt a profound sense of peace. The path had been long and winding, marked by pain and triumph, loss and love. She knew there would be more obstacles ahead, but she was ready, armed with the wisdom of experience, the strength of community, and an unshakable belief in the power of light to overcome darkness. Emma's story was a testament to resilience and transformation, a living guide for anyone seeking to recognize the signs, confront the shadows, and create a life, and a world, where love leads the way. And with that, she smiled, ready to continue the journey, one courageous step at a time. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Emma's evolving mission and growing influence brought her into contact with a diverse array of people, survivors, leaders, experts, and skeptics alike. Each encounter deepened her understanding that the struggle against evil and toxic behavior was not just personal but profoundly societal. She recognized that systemic issues, cultural norms, economic pressures, and power imbalances, often enabled manipulation and abuse to flourish unchecked. Determined to tackle these root causes, Emma set her sights on advocacy at the policy level. She began collaborating with legislators, mental health organizations, and advocacy groups to push for stronger protections against emotional abuse and workplace harassment. Emma used her story as a powerful tool to illuminate the often invisible wounds caused by psychological manipulation. She testified before congressional committees, sharing first-hand accounts of how subtle evil behaviors, gaslighting, isolation, emotional coercion, devastated individuals and communities. Her testimony was compelling, backed by data and expert research she had helped gather through Lightpath's partnerships. Emma's advocacy helped spur new legislation aimed at improving mental health resources, mandating emotional abuse awareness training in workplaces, and supporting survivors with accessible services. These victories, though incremental, were deeply meaningful. They signaled a shift toward recognizing the profound impact of emotional and psychological harm and the necessity of systemic change. Yet Emma also understood the importance of grassroots movements. She mobilized Lightpath's community into action, organizing awareness campaigns, local support groups, and volunteer networks that extended the reach of education and healing. Emma's vision was holistic, blending top-down policy change with bottom-up community empowerment. As the movement grew, Emma faced the challenge of maintaining balance. The demands of advocacy, public speaking, and running a thriving startup stretched her thin. There were days when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her. To sustain herself, Emma recommitted to self-care practices, meditation, exercise, time in nature, and leaned on her support system. Mike remained a steadfast partner, grounding her amid the chaos. Her mother, Linda, continued to be a source of unconditional love and wisdom. Emma's personal story remained a touchstone, reminding her why the work mattered. At a national conference on mental health reform, Emma delivered a keynote address that encapsulated her journey and vision. "We must dismantle the systems that allow evil to hide in plain sight," she said. "But we must also build new systems, rooted in empathy, education, and empowerment, that lift us all toward healing and hope." The audience's response was overwhelming. Many approached her afterward, sharing stories of their own struggles and pledging to join the cause. These connections energized Emma, reaffirming that change was possible when people came together. Meanwhile, Lightpath continued innovating. Emma's team developed an app that used AI to help users identify toxic behavior patterns in their relationships and workplaces, offering tailored resources and support. The app became a vital tool, making education and help accessible anytime, anywhere. Emma also expanded partnerships internationally, recognizing that the signs of evil and paths to healing transcended borders and cultures. She traveled to conferences in Europe, Asia, and Latin America, learning and sharing knowledge globally. Through these efforts, Emma became not only a leader but a bridge, connecting diverse voices in a shared commitment to confronting evil in all its forms. Yet, amidst the successes, Emma remained humble and reflective. She knew the work was never done. Evil, in its many guises, was persistent. But so was the human spirit's capacity to resist, heal, and transform. Emma's journey, from the painful betrayals of her past to her role as a global advocate, stood as a testament to this truth. In quieter moments, Emma reflected on the lessons learned, the importance of trusting intuition, setting boundaries, seeking community, and embracing vulnerability as strength. She understood that recognizing the 5 signs of evil, manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation tactics, gaslighting, and betrayal, was crucial, but so was cultivating love, integrity, and resilience. As Emma prepared for another major speaking tour, she felt a profound sense of purpose and peace. Her story had sparked countless new beginnings and inspired a movement dedicated to shining light in the darkest places. Emma knew that by standing firm and choosing compassion, she had helped transform not only her own life but the lives of many. And so, Emma continued, undaunted and hopeful, leading the way forward with courage, wisdom, and an unshakable belief that no one should ever be fooled again. Emma's journey had taken her from personal heartbreak to global advocacy, but the true test of her mission came unexpectedly, when she faced a crisis that threatened not only her work but her very sense of safety. It began with subtle signs, strange messages, anonymous threats, and unsettling encounters at conferences. At first, Emma tried to dismiss them as part of the price of visibility and influence. But as the threats escalated, it became clear someone was intent on silencing her. The pattern was familiar, the tactics of manipulation, intimidation, and fear meant to isolate and control. Emma realized that evil often fights hardest when exposed, wielding power not through physical violence but psychological terror. She refused to let fear dictate her life. Instead, Emma took immediate action. She contacted law enforcement, enlisted cybersecurity experts, and strengthened personal security measures. She also leaned heavily on her support network. Mike, her mother Linda, trusted friends, and colleagues, who rallied around her with unwavering loyalty. Publicly, Emma addressed the threats with courage and transparency, refusing to let them overshadow her message. In interviews and speeches, she spoke about the importance of standing up to intimidation and not letting evil win through silence or fear. Her openness inspired many others who faced similar challenges in their own lives. This dark period deepened Emma's understanding of the 5 signs of evil, highlighting the importance of vigilance and community in the face of unseen dangers. She shared these insights through Lightpath's platforms, offering guidance on digital safety, emotional resilience, and the power of collective support. Emma's company also implemented new policies to protect employees and users from harassment and threats, emphasizing a zero-tolerance stance against abuse in any form. The experience tested Emma's resolve but ultimately strengthened it. She emerged more determined than ever to build safe spaces, both online and offline, where truth and compassion could flourish without fear. Emma's advocacy took on a new dimension, focusing on protecting activists, survivors, and vulnerable communities from retaliation and harm. She collaborated with organizations specializing in digital rights, mental health, and legal aid to develop comprehensive safety nets and resources. The crisis also inspired Emma to write a new chapter in her book, candidly sharing the impact of threats and the importance of courage and community in overcoming them. The response from readers and supporters was profound, creating a wave of solidarity and renewed commitment to the cause. Through it all, Emma remained grounded by her personal relationships. Mike's steadfast presence, Linda's nurturing wisdom, and the bonds forged within the Lightpath community provided the strength to face each challenge. Emma understood that resilience was not just about individual strength but about connection, trust, and shared purpose. As the threats eventually subsided, Emma reflected on the journey with gratitude and clarity. The darkness she faced had been formidable, but it could not extinguish the light she carried. Emma's story, marked by courage, vulnerability, and unwavering hope, continued to inspire thousands to recognize the signs, stand firm, and choose love over fear. Looking ahead, Emma embraced the future with a renewed sense of mission. She planned new initiatives focused on prevention, education, and healing, knowing that the battle against evil was ongoing but winnable. Emma's life was a living testament to the power of awareness, resilience, and community. A beacon for anyone who had ever felt alone in the face of darkness. And with that, Emma stepped forward, ready to continue the fight, inspiring others to rise, to heal, and to never be fooled again. Emma's experience with threats and intimidation marked a pivotal moment, not only in her personal journey but in the broader mission she had undertaken. The battle against evil was not just about recognizing signs or protecting oneself, it was about creating sustainable systems of support, education, and empowerment that could withstand and dismantle the forces of manipulation and fear. Determined to turn adversity into opportunity, Emma doubled down on her vision. She launched a nationwide campaign called Stand Strong, aimed at mobilizing communities to build resilience and solidarity against emotional abuse and toxic behaviors. This initiative combined public awareness, grassroots organizing, and policy advocacy to create a multi-layered defense against evil in all its forms. Emma's message was clear: no one should face darkness alone. The campaign encouraged people to share their stories, support each other, and demand accountability from institutions that enabled abuse. Stand Strong partnered with schools, workplaces, faith groups, and local organizations to provide accessible education and resources, reaching millions across the country. Emma's leadership during this time was transformative. She embraced a collaborative approach, amplifying the voices of survivors, experts, and activists. This inclusivity enriched the movement, fostering innovation and empathy. Emma's ability to listen deeply and respond thoughtfully earned her widespread respect and influence. Lightpath grew alongside Stand Strong, integrating new tools and programs designed to meet the diverse needs of its expanding community. AI-driven resources helped users identify toxic patterns early, while peer support networks provided safe spaces for healing and empowerment. Emma's team developed specialized modules for educators and employers, focusing on prevention and healthy relationship skills. The impact was measurable. Reports of workplace harassment decreased in partner organizations, and many individuals credited the program with saving relationships and lives. Yet, Emma knew that the struggle against evil was deeply personal as well as systemic. She continued to nurture her relationships with Mike and Linda, finding in them the grounding and love necessary to face ongoing challenges. Their support reminded her that the most powerful antidote to evil was connection. Human beings standing together in truth and compassion. At an International Women's Leadership Summit, Emma shared the evolution of her journey, from personal betrayal to global movement builder. Her speech emphasized resilience, empathy, and the courage to confront both external threats and internal shadows. True strength, she said, comes not from avoiding pain but from embracing it, learning from it, and using it to build a better world. The audience responded with standing ovations, many moved by the raw honesty and hope woven through her words. In the years that followed, Emma's work continued to expand. She helped launch an international coalition dedicated to emotional health and abuse prevention, bridging cultures and communities to share knowledge and resources. Emma's story became a beacon for those fighting silence and stigma around emotional abuse worldwide. Through every success and setback, Emma remained committed to the core truth she had discovered early on, recognizing the signs of evil, manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation tactics, gaslighting, and betrayal, was essential, but the greater victory was choosing love, integrity, and resilience in response. Emma's legacy was not just the movement she built but the countless lives transformed by her courage and compassion. And with every step forward, she carried a message of hope that no matter how dark the world may seem, light will always find a way to shine through. Emma's journey had evolved into a movement that stretched far beyond her original vision, touching lives across the country and around the world. Yet even as Lightpath and the Stand Strong campaign thrived, Emma knew the fight against toxic behavior and evil was far from over. Each new success uncovered deeper layers of complexity, intersections of trauma, power, culture, and systemic injustice, that demanded constant learning and adaptation. One day, Emma received an invitation that would challenge her to take her mission to an entirely new level. The United Nations had launched an initiative focused on mental health and human rights, inviting global leaders to join a coalition dedicated to combating emotional abuse and promoting psychological well-being worldwide. Emma was asked to serve as an ambassador, a role that would bring her insights and experience to an international platform, influencing policies and programs that affected millions. Accepting the invitation meant stepping into unfamiliar territory, navigating diplomatic channels, cultural nuances, and geopolitical tensions. But Emma saw it as a vital opportunity to expand the reach of her work and foster cross-cultural collaboration. Traveling to the UN headquarters in New York, Emma prepared to address an assembly of diplomats, activists, and experts from every continent. Her speech would highlight the pervasive yet often invisible nature of emotional abuse and manipulation, issues frequently overshadowed by physical violence but equally devastating. She shared stories from survivors, data from Lightpath's research, and the 5 critical signs of evil behavior that everyone needed to recognize. Emma's words resonated deeply with the audience, prompting commitments from nations to prioritize emotional health in public policy, education, and social services. The experience broadened Emma's perspective, revealing the global dimensions of the problem and the universal human yearning for safety, dignity, and connection. In the months that followed, Emma worked alongside international teams to develop culturally sensitive training programs and resource networks. She learned about the unique challenges faced by marginalized groups and war-torn communities, adapting Lightpath's tools to meet diverse needs. Emma's collaboration with local leaders and survivors enriched her understanding and deepened her empathy. Through these efforts, Emma witnessed remarkable stories of resilience. People rebuilding their lives and communities despite profound trauma. She documented these stories, using them to inspire and educate others, emphasizing that healing is possible everywhere. Back home, Emma continued to nurture her core values, authenticity, courage, and compassion, while embracing the complexity of global leadership. She remained committed to transparency, sharing the challenges and lessons of international work with her followers. Emma's personal growth mirrored the evolution of her mission. She recognized the importance of humility and patience, especially when confronting entrenched systems of injustice. Her relationship with Mike flourished through mutual support and shared purpose, while her bond with Linda remained a source of comfort and wisdom. As Lightpath expanded into new countries and languages, Emma faced new challenges balancing growth with quality and integrity. She prioritized building diverse teams and fostering inclusive cultures that reflected the communities they served. Emma's leadership became a model of empathy-driven innovation, where technology and human connection worked hand in hand. One defining moment came when Emma was invited to speak at a global summit on women's empowerment. Reflecting on her journey, she said, "The fight against evil is not just about resistance, it's about transformation. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and building bridges where walls once stood." Her speech inspired renewed commitments to collaboration and care. Emma's story, once rooted in personal pain and betrayal, had blossomed into a global movement for justice, healing, and hope. As she looked toward the future, Emma remained grounded in the simple yet profound truth that had guided her from the start: no one should ever be fooled by evil again. Through awareness, courage, and community, light will always find a way to overcome darkness. And with that enduring belief, Emma stepped forward, ready to continue the journey, inspiring millions to stand strong, recognize the signs, and choose love every day. Emma's work at the international level opened doors to powerful collaborations, but it also exposed her to the intricate and often painful realities faced by survivors around the world. She realized that while the signs of evil, manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation, gaslighting, and betrayal, were universal, their expressions and impacts were deeply shaped by culture, history, and social structures. Emma committed herself to learning from these diverse perspectives, knowing that true healing required culturally sensitive approaches. One of the most impactful experiences came during a visit to a refugee camp in Eastern Europe. There, Emma met women and children who had escaped violence, only to face new forms of emotional abuse and exploitation in displacement. Their stories of resilience amid despair moved Emma profoundly. She worked with local NGOs to adapt Lightpath's programs to the camp's realities, simplifying language, integrating trauma-informed care, and training community leaders as peer counselors. This hands-on approach underscored for Emma that empowerment must come from within communities, respecting their wisdom and strengths. Emma's global advocacy took her to remote villages and bustling cities alike, where she witnessed the transformative power of education and connection. She collaborated with indigenous groups preserving traditional healing practices, combining them with modern psychological insights. These partnerships enriched Lightpath's methodology and reinforced Emma's belief that fighting evil required honoring the full spectrum of human experience. Back in the United States, Emma faced new challenges as Lightpath scaled rapidly. The surge in demand revealed gaps in mental health infrastructure and disparities in access to care, especially for marginalized populations. Emma responded by prioritizing equity and inclusion, expanding scholarships and support for underserved communities, and advocating for systemic reform. She worked closely with policymakers to secure funding and implement culturally competent training programs for mental health professionals. Throughout these efforts, Emma maintained a focus on the personal stories that fueled her passion. She regularly hosted virtual forums where survivors shared their journeys, fostering a sense of solidarity and hope. These gatherings reminded Emma and her team that beyond statistics and policies were real people, each deserving dignity, respect, and healing. On the home front, Emma's relationships continued to deepen. Mike, inspired by Emma's courage and vision, became an active partner in Lightpath's initiatives, using his skills in technology to enhance the platform's reach and security. Linda's unwavering support provided a steady foundation, her own experiences offering valuable insights and comfort. Together, they celebrated milestones and navigated setbacks, embodying the principles of empathy and resilience Emma championed. Emma also confronted the ongoing challenge of maintaining her own well-being amid relentless demands. She embraced mindfulness, creative expression, and nature as essential sources of renewal. She sought therapy not only as a survivor but as a leader navigating complex emotional terrain. Emma's openness about her self-care journey encouraged others to prioritize mental health without stigma or shame. As Lightpath approached its 10th anniversary, Emma reflected on the remarkable transformation, from a personal struggle with betrayal and fear to a global movement fostering healing and hope. The lessons learned were profound. Evil thrives in silence and isolation, but can be overcome through awareness, connection, and courage. Emma's story became a testament to the power of one person to ignite change that ripples outward, touching countless lives. To celebrate this milestone, Emma organized a global summit, bringing together survivors, activists, experts, and allies to share knowledge, build alliances, and envision the future. The event was a vibrant tapestry of stories, innovations, and commitments, embodying the spirit of Lightpath's mission. Emma's keynote emphasized that the work was far from finished but that together, humanity could create a world where love, respect, and integrity prevailed. As the summit closed, Emma stood among the crowd, hopeful, humbled, and ready for the next chapter. The journey had been arduous, marked by pain and triumph, darkness and light. But Emma knew that every step forward was a victory against the forces of evil, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. And with that unshakable belief, Emma moved ahead, leading, learning, and inspiring, so that no one would ever be fooled again. Emma's decade-long journey had transformed not only her life but the lives of thousands, if not millions, worldwide. Yet, as LightPath grew into a global beacon of hope and healing, Emma realized the importance of preparing the next generation to carry forward the mission. She envisioned a future where awareness of toxic behaviors and emotional abuse would be woven into the fabric of education, empowering young people with the knowledge and resilience to protect themselves and others. Emma launched the NextGen LightPath initiative, partnering with schools, universities, and youth organizations to develop comprehensive curricula on emotional intelligence, boundary setting, and recognizing the 5 signs of evil behavior: manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation tactics, gaslighting, and betrayal. The program was designed to be interactive and engaging, using storytelling, role-playing, and digital tools to make complex psychological concepts accessible and relevant. Emma believed that education was the most powerful preventive tool against the cycle of abuse and that young people equipped with these skills could foster healthier relationships and communities. The rollout faced challenges, including resistance from some educators and communities uncomfortable discussing emotional abuse openly. Emma met these hurdles with patience and empathy, facilitating dialogues to address fears and misconceptions. She shared personal stories and data to demonstrate the urgent need for these conversations and collaborated with respected local leaders to build trust. Slowly but surely, the program gained traction. Schools reported improved student well-being, reduced bullying, and more supportive peer networks. Students began to recognize unhealthy dynamics in their friendships and families, feeling empowered to seek help and set boundaries. Emma's vision was coming alive in classrooms across the country and beyond. At one particularly memorable school visit, a high school student named Maya approached Emma with tears in her eyes. Maya shared how the program had helped her understand and break free from a toxic relationship that had left her isolated and doubting herself. She thanked Emma for giving her the language and courage to reclaim her voice. Moments like this reaffirmed Emma's belief that education could change lives. Meanwhile, LightPath's technological innovations continued to evolve. Emma spearheaded the development of a new AI-driven app called Guardian, which provided real-time analysis of text messages and social media interactions, alerting users to potential manipulation or gaslighting tactics. The app also connected users with confidential support and resources tailored to their needs. Privacy and ethical considerations were paramount, and Emma's team worked closely with experts and user communities to ensure Guardian was safe, respectful, and empowering. The launch was a milestone, marking the integration of cutting-edge technology with compassionate care, a hallmark of Emma's leadership. As the years passed, Emma reflected on the many layers of her journey. From the devastating betrayals of her youth to the global advocacy that defined her present, each chapter had taught her invaluable lessons about strength, vulnerability, and the enduring power of human connection. She often revisited the 5 signs of evil, understanding that vigilance was ongoing but also that hope and love were the ultimate antidotes. Emma remained deeply connected to her roots. She continued to spend time with Mike and Linda, cherishing the simplicity and warmth of family life amid her demanding career. These relationships grounded her and reminded her of the personal reasons behind her public work. In moments of quiet reflection, Emma found peace in nature, journaling, and creative pursuits that nourished her soul. One evening, Emma was invited to participate in a televised panel discussion about the evolving challenges of emotional abuse in the digital age. The conversation was dynamic, touching on topics like online harassment, misinformation, and the intersection of technology with human psychology. Emma emphasized the critical need for digital literacy and emotional awareness, urging viewers to cultivate empathy and discernment in all interactions. The discussion resonated widely, sparking community dialogues and inspiring new initiatives. Emma's voice had become a trusted guide in navigating the complexities of modern relationships and power dynamics. As Emma looked to the future, she planned to write a comprehensive guidebook. Combining personal stories, expert insights, and practical tools, to serve as a lasting resource for individuals, educators, and professionals. She envisioned this book as a legacy project, encapsulating everything she had learned and shared over the years. Emma's journey was far from over, but she felt a profound sense of fulfillment and readiness. She knew that the seeds planted through LightPath and its many initiatives would continue to grow, nurtured by a new generation of advocates and survivors empowered to stand strong. The story that began with personal pain and betrayal had blossomed into a global movement for awareness, healing, and hope. And with every step forward, Emma carried the unshakable belief that no one should ever be fooled again, and that love, courage, and community would always light the way. Emma's vision for the future was clear: to build a world where the shadows of emotional abuse and manipulation could no longer thrive. But she also understood that lasting change required systemic shifts, changes in laws, workplace policies, social norms, and cultural narratives. With this in mind, Emma intensified her advocacy at the policy level, working closely with lawmakers, mental health organizations, and human rights groups to push for stronger protections and comprehensive reforms. One of Emma's key focuses was advocating for the recognition of emotional abuse and psychological manipulation as serious offenses, deserving of legal consequences similar to physical abuse. She met resistance from some quarters, where misconceptions about emotional harm still prevailed, but Emma met this with data, personal testimonies, and coalition building. She helped draft model legislation and testified before legislative bodies, sharing her journey and the stories of survivors who had been denied justice. These efforts contributed to landmark changes in several states, where laws were expanded to better protect victims and hold perpetrators accountable. Emma also championed workplace reforms. Recognizing that toxic behavior often flourished in professional environments, LightPath partnered with companies to implement comprehensive policies against emotional harassment and bullying. Emma's team developed training programs that equipped managers and employees to recognize and respond to subtle forms of abuse, fostering cultures of respect and accountability. Several major corporations adopted these programs, reporting healthier work environments and improved employee well-being. Emma's approach was always holistic, understanding that laws and policies were crucial but insufficient without cultural change. She worked with media organizations to shift how stories of abuse were told, promoting narratives that emphasized resilience and empowerment rather than shame and silence. Emma's efforts helped normalize conversations about emotional abuse, reducing stigma and encouraging more people to seek help. At the same time, Emma maintained a strong focus on community-level initiatives. She supported grassroots organizations and survivor-led groups, believing that change must be rooted in the experiences and voices of those directly affected. Emma provided grants, mentorship, and platforms for these groups, amplifying their impact and fostering networks of mutual aid. On a personal level, Emma embraced the ongoing process of healing and growth. She continued therapy, practiced mindfulness, and surrounded herself with trusted loved ones. Mike and Linda remained central to her life, offering unwavering support and joy. Emma knew that resilience required self-care and community care alike. In moments of quiet reflection, she often returned to the question that had sparked her journey: what's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? For Emma, the answer was clear: the belief that every person deserved to live free from fear and deception, and that together, humanity could build a kinder, more just world. As Emma looked back on the path she had traveled, from the depths of betrayal to the heights of global advocacy, she felt a deep sense of gratitude and hope. Her story was a testament to the power of awareness, courage, and connection to overcome even the darkest forces. Emma's legacy was not just the policies changed or the programs created, but the countless lives touched, healed, and transformed. And with every new day, Emma recommitted herself to the mission: to stand strong, to recognize the signs, and to ensure that no one would ever be fooled again. Emma's relentless advocacy had turned the tide in many ways, but as the world grew more connected, new challenges emerged. The rise of social media and digital communication introduced complexities that Emma had not fully anticipated when she first began her mission. Toxic behaviors found fertile ground online, where anonymity and distance often emboldened perpetrators and complicated accountability. Emma realized that the fight against emotional abuse had to evolve with technology. She mobilized LightPath's tech team to develop sophisticated tools that could detect early signs of manipulation and harassment in online spaces. These innovations included algorithms that analyzed language patterns indicative of gaslighting or emotional coercion, and virtual support groups where survivors could safely connect and heal. Yet technology alone was not enough. Emma championed digital literacy programs to teach users, especially young people, how to recognize red flags and protect their mental health in the digital age. She partnered with schools and nonprofit organizations to create curricula that combined emotional intelligence with practical online safety skills. These programs emphasized empathy, critical thinking, and boundary setting, empowering a generation to navigate the digital world with resilience. Emma's efforts caught the attention of policymakers and tech companies alike. She advocated for stronger regulations against online harassment and pushed for transparency in how social media platforms handled abuse reports. Her voice was instrumental in initiating multi-stakeholder dialogues, bringing together survivors, activists, technologists, and legislators to forge collaborative solutions. Meanwhile, Emma's personal journey continued to inspire. Despite the immense pressure and scrutiny that came with her public role, she remained grounded by her close-knit circle of support, Mike, Linda, and a growing community of friends who shared her vision and values. Emma prioritized moments of joy and rest, understanding that sustainability in activism required balance. One of the most rewarding aspects of Emma's work was witnessing the ripple effects of empowerment. She received countless messages from people worldwide who had recognized toxic behaviors early and taken steps to protect themselves, often crediting LightPath and her teachings for giving them the clarity and strength to act. These stories fueled Emma's passion and reinforced her belief in the power of education and community. As LightPath celebrated its 15th anniversary, Emma reflected on how far the movement had come. What began as a personal crusade against betrayal and manipulation had blossomed into a global network of awareness, prevention, and healing. Emma's commitment to adaptability, empathy, and inclusivity had been key to this success. Looking ahead, Emma envisioned expanding LightPath's reach into underserved regions, leveraging partnerships to overcome barriers of language, culture, and infrastructure. She planned to invest in research exploring the intersection of emotional abuse with other social issues, such as poverty, migration, and systemic discrimination. Emma's story remained a powerful reminder that the battle against evil was ongoing but winnable. With vigilance, courage, and compassion, humanity could build a world where deception and cruelty lost their grip, and love and integrity prevailed. Emma's journey was far from over, but with each step forward, she knew she was not alone, and that together, people everywhere could stand strong and refuse to be fooled again. Emma's journey through advocacy, innovation, and education had created a formidable legacy, yet she knew the work was far from complete. In the ever-shifting landscape of human relationships and technology, new challenges continually surfaced, requiring fresh strategies and renewed dedication. One of the most pressing issues Emma confronted was the pervasive stigma surrounding mental health and emotional abuse in many cultures worldwide. Despite advances, countless survivors remained silent, trapped by shame, fear, or lack of support. Determined to reach these hidden populations, Emma expanded LightPath's outreach to include community-based ambassadors, trusted local leaders trained to recognize and address emotional abuse with cultural sensitivity. These ambassadors served as bridges, connecting survivors to resources and fostering environments where healing was possible without judgment or fear. Emma collaborated with anthropologists, sociologists, and mental health experts to tailor programs that respected cultural values while challenging harmful norms. This delicate balance proved crucial in creating sustainable change. Simultaneously, Emma focused on deepening the conversation around emotional abuse within families. She launched initiatives aimed at promoting healthy communication, conflict resolution, and emotional literacy among parents and children. Workshops, support groups, and multimedia campaigns emphasized that love and discipline need not involve manipulation or fear. These efforts sought to break the intergenerational cycles of trauma that too often perpetuated abuse. Emma's personal narrative became a cornerstone of this work, illustrating that healing was possible even from profound wounds. At a conference on trauma-informed care, Emma shared her story alongside survivors and clinicians, highlighting the transformative power of empathy and understanding. The event sparked new partnerships and inspired many attendees to incorporate these principles into their own communities. Meanwhile, technological advancements continued to play a vital role in Emma's mission. LightPath's app evolved to include virtual reality modules, allowing users to practice setting boundaries and responding to manipulative behaviors in safe, simulated environments. This immersive experience helped build confidence and awareness in ways traditional methods could not. The integration of AI-powered personalized coaching further enhanced user engagement, providing tailored guidance and encouragement. However, Emma remained vigilant about ethical concerns surrounding data privacy and consent. Her team implemented stringent safeguards, transparent policies, and continuous user feedback mechanisms to ensure that technology serves survivors without exploitation or harm. Amid these professional milestones, Emma remained committed to her own growth and well-being. She continued therapy, engaged in creative arts, and spent time in nature, practices that nourished her spirit and resilience. Her relationships with Mike and Linda deepened, offering solace and joy amidst the demands of leadership. Emma also mentored emerging activists, passing on lessons learned and fostering a new generation of compassionate, courageous leaders. As LightPath celebrated its 20th anniversary, Emma reflected on the profound journey from personal pain to global impact. The path had been marked by setbacks and triumphs, heartbreak and hope, but above all, an unwavering belief in the possibility of change. Emma's story was not just about recognizing evil but about reclaiming power, dignity, and love. Looking forward, Emma envisioned a world where emotional abuse was universally understood, prevented, and treated with the seriousness it deserved. She dreamed of societies where every person could trust, connect, and thrive without fear. Emma's journey had become a beacon, illuminating the way for countless others to stand strong and refuse to be fooled again. Emma's story had become more than a personal journey, it was a movement, a call to arms against the subtle yet devastating forces of emotional abuse and manipulation. Over 2 decades, LightPath had grown into a multifaceted global network, uniting survivors, advocates, professionals, and allies in a common purpose, to recognize, resist, and ultimately eradicate the 5 signs of evil that Emma had identified so clearly: manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation tactics, gaslighting, and betrayal. But with growth came complexity. Emma knew that sustaining momentum required continual innovation, deep listening, and a commitment to inclusivity. She understood that healing and justice were ongoing processes that demanded adaptation to new challenges and the courage to confront uncomfortable truths. One of the most significant shifts Emma observed was the increasing intersectionality of emotional abuse with other forms of systemic oppression. She saw how factors such as race, gender, socioeconomic status, and disability could compound the impact of toxic relationships and create barriers to support. Determined to address these layers, Emma led LightPath in developing specialized programs that centered marginalized voices and experiences. Collaborations with grassroots organizations and cultural experts enriched the approach, ensuring that interventions were relevant and respectful. These efforts not only expanded LightPath's reach but also fostered a deeper understanding of how evil could manifest in diverse ways. Emma's leadership style evolved accordingly. She embraced a more collaborative and decentralized model, empowering regional teams and community leaders to adapt strategies to local contexts. This shift strengthened the movement's resilience and responsiveness, allowing it to thrive amid changing social and political landscapes. Emma remained the heart and vision but trusted others to innovate and lead alongside her. Technology remained a powerful tool in Emma's arsenal. LightPath's digital platforms integrated artificial intelligence and machine learning to offer predictive insights, early intervention suggestions, and personalized healing pathways. Virtual reality and augmented reality experiences continue to educate and empower users, simulating real-world scenarios to build skills and confidence. Emma was mindful, however, to balance technological advancement with human connection, ensuring that empathy and trust remained central. The community aspect of LightPath was a source of strength and inspiration. Emma often said that healing was not a solo journey but a collective one. Online forums, support groups, and in-person gatherings provided safe spaces where survivors shared stories, celebrated progress, and supported each other through setbacks. These networks were lifelines for many, embodying the very opposite of isolation and betrayal. Emma's own narrative remained a touchstone, proof that recovery was possible and that the signs of evil could be overcome with awareness, courage, and love. As Emma prepared to step back from day-to-day leadership to focus on mentoring and writing, she reflected on the unexpected ways her mission had unfolded. What had begun as a response to personal betrayal had blossomed into a global movement transforming lives and systems. Emma felt profound gratitude for the allies, survivors, and communities who had joined her on this path. She also acknowledged the ongoing nature of the struggle, that evil would persist in many forms, but so would resilience and hope. Emma's closing message was clear and powerful: recognize the signs, trust your instincts, seek connection, and never let yourself be fooled again. Together, we can build a world where love and integrity light the way. With these words, Emma passed the torch, confident that the light she had ignited would continue to shine brightly, guiding countless others toward healing and strength. Emma's decision to transition from daily leadership to mentorship and writing was not taken lightly. After more than 2 decades of relentless advocacy, innovation, and personal growth, she felt a deep calling to distill the wisdom and lessons she had accumulated into a legacy that would outlast her immediate influence. Her new focus was a comprehensive book, an authoritative guide that blended her personal story with expert insights and practical tools to help readers identify and confront the 5 signs of evil in their own lives. The writing process was both cathartic and challenging. Emma pored over old journals, interviews, and letters, weaving a narrative that was raw yet hopeful. She was determined to convey not only the pain and betrayal she had endured but also the resilience and healing that followed. Her aim was to create a resource that felt like a trusted friend, honest, compassionate, and empowering. Emma included detailed chapters on manipulation tactics, lack of empathy, isolation strategies, gaslighting, and betrayal, each enriched with real-life examples and research-based advice. She incorporated exercises to build emotional intelligence, boundary setting, and self-compassion. Throughout, she emphasized the importance of community and professional support, reminding readers they were not alone. Parallel to her writing, Emma deepened her mentorship role. She cultivated a circle of emerging leaders, survivors turned advocates, psychologists, educators, and technologists, whom she coached with patience and passion. These protégés brought fresh perspectives and energy, ready to carry LightPath's mission into new arenas and populations. Emma found joy and renewal in witnessing their growth and successes, confident that the movement was in capable hands. In her quieter moments, Emma reflected on the extraordinary arc of her journey. From a young woman shattered by deception to a global advocate transforming systems and lives, her story was a testament to the indomitable human spirit. She understood that evil, whether in individuals or institutions, would always exist, but so would courage, love, and connection. Emma's final chapters in her book and her public speeches underscored this dual reality, urging vigilance without despair, awareness without cynicism. She called on readers and listeners to become active participants in fostering safer, kinder communities, starting with themselves and extending outward. Emma's legacy was not merely the identification of the 5 signs or the creation of innovative programs but the cultivation of a movement grounded in empathy, education, and empowerment. Her life's work invited everyone to stand strong, refuse deception, and nurture the light within and among us all. As Emma's book launched to widespread acclaim, with stories of lives changed and hope restored pouring in, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The mission that had once seemed so daunting was now a shared endeavor, blossoming beyond what she had imagined. Emma's voice remained a beacon, reminding the world that even in the face of evil, love and resilience would always light the way. Emma's book launch was more than a personal milestone, it was a celebration of a movement, a collective victory born from countless stories of struggle and survival. The response was overwhelming. Letters, emails, and messages flooded in from readers across the globe who found in Emma's words the clarity and courage to face their own battles. Many shared how recognizing the 5 signs had transformed relationships, empowered them to set boundaries, or inspired them to seek help. Emma was deeply moved, knowing that her story had become a lifeline for so many. With renewed energy, Emma continued to expand Lightpath's reach. She partnered with international organizations to translate her book into multiple languages and adapt programs for diverse cultural contexts. Workshops and conferences multiplied, blending in-person gatherings with virtual events to engage communities worldwide. Emma emphasized inclusivity and accessibility, determined to ensure that no one was left behind regardless of geography or circumstance. Behind the scenes, Emma nurtured innovation. She spearheaded research collaborations exploring the neurological and psychological impacts of emotional abuse, striving to deepen scientific understanding and inform better interventions. Lightpath's tech team developed new AI tools that could detect early warning signs of toxic behavior in digital communication, offering users proactive support. These advancements reinforced Emma's conviction that technology, when guided by empathy and ethics, could be a powerful ally in the fight against evil. Yet Emma never lost sight of the human heart at the center of her work. She cherished the stories of resilience, the bonds forged in support groups, and the transformative power of empathy. Her own circle, Mike, Linda, and close friends, remained her sanctuary, a source of love and grounding amid the whirlwind of advocacy. In quieter moments, Emma reflected on the journey's beginning, the moment of betrayal that had shattered her world and set her on this path. She recognized that pain and darkness had been catalysts, but love, courage, and community had been the true forces of transformation. Emma's story was a beacon, illuminating the path for others to stand strong, recognize evil, and embrace healing. As Lightpath moved into its 3rd decade, Emma embraced a role as elder stateswoman and mentor, guiding new leaders and fostering a culture of compassion and vigilance. Her message was timeless and urgent: know the signs, trust your heart, and never let yourself be fooled again. Together, we create a world where light outshines darkness. Emma's legacy was secure, not just in books or programs, but in the lives touched, the systems changed, and the hope kindled in hearts around the world. Her journey, marked by profound loss and remarkable triumph, was a testament to the enduring power of awareness, resilience, and love. Emma's evolving journey through advocacy and healing illuminated not only the complexities of human relationships but also the profound necessity of continuous vigilance against the subtle forces of manipulation and betrayal. As the years unfolded, Emma realized that the fight against emotional abuse required an ever-adaptive, multifaceted approach, one that embraced evolving societal contexts, technology, and diverse human experiences. In the wake of Lightpath's international expansion and the publication of her acclaimed book, Emma dedicated herself to deepening the conversation about emotional abuse's intersection with broader social issues. She observed how systemic inequities, rooted in race, class, gender, and more, often compounded the vulnerabilities of those facing emotional harm. For many, cultural stigmas and lack of resources created invisible barriers that prolonged suffering. Emma's response was rooted in humility and collaboration. She convened cross-sector coalitions, bringing together survivors, activists, scholars, and policymakers to co-create strategies that addressed these layered realities. Community-based participatory research became a cornerstone of Lightpath's methodology, ensuring that interventions were culturally attuned and survivor-centered. This inclusivity deepened Lightpath's impact, cultivating trust and engagement in communities previously underserved. Meanwhile, Emma's emphasis on education extended into early childhood and family systems. Recognizing that emotional literacy was foundational to healthy relationships, Lightpath partnered with educators to integrate curricula that taught empathy, self-awareness, and boundary setting from a young age. These programs empowered children and parents alike, aiming to disrupt cycles of abuse before they began. Emma also advocated for trauma-informed care to become standard practice in schools, healthcare, and social services, fostering environments where healing and growth were supported holistically. Technological innovation remained a vital frontier. LightPath's digital tools grew increasingly sophisticated, harnessing AI and virtual reality to simulate real-life scenarios, identify patterns of abuse, and provide personalized support. Emma insisted on rigorous ethical standards to protect users' privacy and dignity, emphasizing technology as a complement, not a substitute, for human connection and professional care. At the core of all these efforts was Emma's unwavering belief in the power of community. She fostered networks where survivors found solidarity, shared wisdom, and co-created new narratives of resilience. These spaces countered isolation, the very weapon so often wielded by abusers, and embodied LightPath's vision of healing through connection. Personally, Emma found strength in balancing public leadership with private renewal. Time spent with Mike, Linda, and close friends nourished her spirit, while practices like mindfulness, creative expression, and nature retreats sustained her resilience. Emma's journey was a testament to the capacity for growth and transformation, even after profound hurt. As LightPath approached its 25th anniversary, Emma reflected on the tapestry of change woven by countless hands, hers included, but always part of a larger, ongoing movement. She recognized that while evil in its many forms persisted, so too did hope, courage, and love. Emma's legacy was not static, it was a living, breathing force empowering generations to come to recognize the 5 signs of evil, stand strong, and refuse to be fooled again. With deep gratitude and enduring commitment, Emma looked ahead, confident that the light she had helped kindle would continue to guide and uplift, illuminating paths toward justice, healing, and connection worldwide. Emma's journey over 25 years had transformed from a deeply personal battle into a worldwide movement illuminating the hidden dangers of emotional abuse. But as the world entered a new era, Emma faced fresh challenges, complex, intertwined with rapid technological advances and shifting cultural landscapes. She understood that identifying evil signs, manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation, gaslighting, and betrayal, was only the beginning. The fight now demanded innovative solutions and deeper empathy to reach every corner of society. Emma focused on building bridges between disciplines. She collaborated with neuroscientists exploring how trauma altered brain chemistry, with educators integrating emotional intelligence into school curricula, and with technologists developing AI tools capable of early detection of toxic behavior patterns in digital communication. Her vision was to create an ecosystem of awareness, prevention, and healing grounded in science, education, and technology. Recognizing that marginalized communities often faced compounded barriers, Emma dedicated resources to culturally tailored programs. She partnered with grassroots organizations worldwide, training local leaders as ambassadors of LightPath's mission. These ambassadors respected traditions while introducing new concepts of emotional health and safety, fostering trust and inclusion. Emma's advocacy also extended to public policy. She testified before lawmakers, urging stronger protections for victims of emotional abuse, comprehensive education reforms, and responsible regulation of online platforms to curb harassment and misinformation. Her clear, compassionate voice resonated, influencing legislation and corporate practices. Yet, through all advancements, Emma never lost sight of the human heart. She nurtured survivor networks where stories of pain turned to strength, fostering empathy and solidarity. Her own relationships, with Mike, Linda, and a close community, remained anchors of love and renewal, reminding her that connection was the antidote to isolation. Emma's writing continued to inspire. Her latest book wove personal narrative with expert insights and practical exercises, empowering readers to recognize evil's subtle signs and reclaim their power. The launch was met with global acclaim, with readers sharing stories of transformation and hope. As Emma contemplated the future, she envisioned a world where emotional abuse was universally recognized and swiftly addressed, where technology and community worked hand in hand to protect and empower, where love and integrity prevailed over deception and cruelty. Her legacy was a beacon, lighting the path forward. Emma's story was not just about facing evil, it was about standing strong, together, refusing to be fooled again. Emma sat quietly in her sunlit study, reflecting on the remarkable journey that had shaped her life and the lives of countless others. From the depths of personal betrayal to the heights of global advocacy, she had forged a path illuminated by resilience, insight, and unwavering hope. The lessons learned and shared through Lightpath's extensive work now rippled across cultures, disciplines, and generations, embodying a collective refusal to be fooled by the 5 signs of evil: manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation, gaslighting, and betrayal. Yet Emma knew that the journey was ongoing. The world was ever evolving, and so too were the forms of abuse and deception. This realization fueled her commitment to continual learning and adaptation. She began spearheading initiatives to explore emerging challenges, such as the psychological impact of digital relationships and the subtle manipulations possible through artificial intelligence and social media. Collaborating with experts in cyberpsychology and digital ethics, Emma sought to expand Lightpath's mission into the virtual realm, where the boundaries between reality and illusion often blurred. Recognizing the critical role of early intervention, Emma worked to integrate emotional literacy programs into schools worldwide. These programs taught children and young adults to recognize unhealthy dynamics, develop empathy, and communicate assertively. She believed that education was a powerful tool to break cycles of abuse before they began, nurturing generations equipped to foster healthy, authentic connections. Emma also deepened Lightpath's focus on community healing. She emphasized the creation of safe spaces, both physical and virtual, where survivors could share stories, access resources, and rebuild trust. These communities embodied the antithesis of isolation, offering empathy, validation, and solidarity. Through storytelling workshops, art therapy, and peer mentorship, survivors reclaimed their narratives and power. Technology remained a key ally. Lightpath's innovative tools, combining AI, virtual reality, and personalized coaching, evolved to meet diverse needs while maintaining rigorous ethical standards. Emma advocated fiercely for user privacy and consent, ensuring that technology served as a bridge to healing rather than a source of harm. Emma's personal life flourished alongside her mission. Her relationships with Mike and Linda provided grounding and joy, their shared experiences enriching her understanding of love, forgiveness, and resilience. Together, they engaged in community projects and nature retreats, nurturing balance and renewal. As Emma prepared to step into a new role, mentoring emerging leaders and focusing on writing and public speaking, she reflected on the profound impact of her work. The 5 signs of evil were no longer hidden threats but widely recognized dangers. Survivors found their voices, communities grew stronger, systems began to change. Emma's legacy was not merely in programs or publications but in the hearts and minds she had touched. She concluded her latest keynote with a powerful message. Evil thrives in silence and deception, but light grows in awareness and connection. Know the signs, trust yourself, and never let anyone fool you again. Together, we can build a world where love and integrity lead the way. Emma's story was far from over. It was a living testament to courage, transformation, and the enduring power of hope. Emma had spent nearly 3 decades dedicated to the mission of identifying and combating the 5 signs of evil: manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation tactics, gaslighting, and betrayal. As she entered her late 50s, she sensed a new chapter unfolding, not just for herself but for the movement she had helped build. The cultural landscape was shifting, technology evolving at lightning speed, and with it, the forms of emotional abuse and deception were morphing into subtler, harder to detect threats. Emma understood that the work was far from over. She poured herself into pioneering a new initiative within Lightpath focused on emotional safety in the digital age. This project aimed to address how technology could both facilitate and fight against emotional abuse. She collaborated with cybersecurity experts, psychologists, AI developers, and survivors to design tools that could detect manipulative patterns in online communication while offering users real-time guidance to protect themselves. This intersection of technology and empathy became Emma's new passion, using innovation not as a cold tool, but as a human-centered shield against invisible dangers. At the same time, Emma deepened her commitment to education. She spearheaded efforts to incorporate emotional intelligence curricula into schools nationwide, believing that equipping children and teens with the skills to recognize and resist toxic behaviors early was the key to long-term change. These programs taught self-awareness, empathy, and boundary setting through interactive lessons, role-playing, and storytelling. Emma often visited classrooms herself, sharing her story and inspiring young minds to stand strong against deception. Throughout it all, Emma never lost sight of the power of community. She expanded LightPath's survivor networks globally, nurturing peer support groups, mentorship programs, and healing retreats. These spaces offered not only safety but empowerment, a collective voice rising above isolation and fear. Emma's own circle of friends and family, Mike, Linda, and close companions, remained her anchor, reminding her daily of the love and resilience that fueled her work. Emma's writing flourished as well. Her latest book combined personal memoir, scientific research, and practical exercises, offering readers a comprehensive guide to recognizing and overcoming emotional abuse in all its forms. The launch was met with critical acclaim and heartfelt testimonials from people whose lives had been transformed. Emma's public speaking engagements grew too, as she traveled widely to share her message, advocate for policy changes, and connect with diverse communities. Reflecting on her journey, Emma acknowledged the profound truth she had learned: evil often hides in plain sight, cloaked in charm or familiarity. But with awareness, courage, and connection, anyone could protect themselves and others. Her enduring message was clear and urgent: know the signs, trust your instincts, and never let anyone fool you again. Together, we can build a world where love and integrity light the way. Emma's legacy was a living force, an ongoing movement of hope, healing, and unwavering vigilance against the shadows that threaten us all. Emma sat at her desk, the morning sun filtering softly through the blinds, casting long shadows across the pages of her latest manuscript. After nearly 30 years dedicated to the fight against emotional abuse and manipulation, she felt both the weight of the past and the excitement of what lay ahead. The world had changed so much since she first embarked on this mission, from a personal reckoning with betrayal to founding LightPath, a global movement that had transformed lives across continents. Now, as technology evolved and social dynamics shifted, Emma understood that the battle against the 5 signs of evil, manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation, gaslighting, and betrayal, needed fresh approaches, renewed energy, and unyielding vigilance. She had spent months collaborating with experts in cyberpsychology, artificial intelligence, education, and community advocacy to develop a comprehensive initiative addressing emotional safety in the digital age. The rise of social media, online dating, virtual workplaces, and artificial intelligence created new opportunities for connection but also new avenues for deception and harm. Emma's initiative sought to empower individuals with the knowledge, tools, and community support necessary to navigate this complex terrain safely. Central to the project was an AI-powered platform that could analyze patterns in digital communication to detect early warning signs of manipulation or abuse. The system offered real-time guidance and resources, connecting users to trusted support networks and professional help. Emma was keenly aware of the ethical implications and had insisted on strict privacy protections and transparency, ensuring that technology would serve as a shield rather than a weapon. Parallel to these technological advancements, Emma expanded LightPath's educational programs. Partnering with schools and community centers, the organization introduced interactive curricula teaching emotional intelligence, empathy, and healthy relationship skills from early childhood through adolescence. Emma believed that early intervention was vital to breaking cycles of abuse and building resilient individuals capable of recognizing and resisting toxic behaviors. She often visited classrooms herself, sharing her story to inspire courage and self-awareness. Despite the scale and complexity of her work, Emma remained deeply connected to the human heart of her mission. Survivor networks flourished under LightPath's umbrella, providing safe spaces for healing, storytelling, and mutual support. Peer mentorship programs empowered survivors to become advocates and leaders, creating a ripple effect of transformation. Emma's own relationships, with Mike, Linda, and close friends, were sources of strength and joy, grounding her amidst the demands of leadership. As Emma prepared to release her newest book, blending memoir, scientific insights, and practical guidance, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The 5 signs of evil were no longer hidden shadows but recognized threats, illuminated by awareness and collective action. Yet the work was never finished. Deception and cruelty could take new forms, but so could resilience and love. Emma's enduring message echoed in every chapter, every speech, and every heart she touched. Know the signs, trust your instincts, and never let anyone fool you again. Together, we can create a world where light overcomes darkness, and love leads the way. Her story was a living testament to courage, growth, and the transformative power of connection, an invitation for all to stand strong, aware, and united in the face of evil. Emma's journey had unfolded like a tapestry woven with threads of pain, resilience, innovation, and hope. The moment she looked back on her decades of advocacy and healing, she realized the profound impact her work had on countless lives, yet she also saw clearly that the fight against emotional abuse was never truly finished. The signs of evil, manipulation, lack of empathy, isolation, gaslighting, and betrayal, could manifest in new, insidious ways, especially as society and technology evolved. In her late 50s, Emma embraced the challenge of adapting Lightpath's mission for a rapidly changing world. She spearheaded the Digital Empathy Project, a pioneering effort that combined cutting-edge AI with psychological expertise to detect and counteract emotional abuse in online spaces. Emma collaborated with engineers, therapists, ethicists, and survivors to create tools that could analyze language patterns, identify manipulation tactics, and offer personalized support. All while safeguarding privacy and dignity. Education remained at the heart of Emma's vision. She worked with school districts, nonprofit organizations, and community leaders to embed emotional literacy and boundary-setting skills into curricula from early childhood onward. These programs empowered young people to recognize harmful behaviors and cultivate empathy, fostering a generation more resilient to deception and cruelty. Emma also deepened Lightpath's survivor networks, championing peer mentorship, storytelling, and creative healing modalities. She believed that shared experience and collective strength were antidotes to isolation and despair. Her own close relationships, especially with Mike and Linda, were sources of enduring love and renewal, reminding her daily of the human capacity for connection and growth. Emma's writing flourished alongside her advocacy. Her latest book, a synthesis of memoir, research, and practical exercises, resonated widely, inspiring readers to reclaim their power and trust their instincts. Public speaking engagements took her across the country and beyond, where she ignited conversations about emotional safety, integrity, and community. Reflecting on her life's work, Emma acknowledged the bittersweet truth: evil might never vanish entirely, but awareness, courage, and compassion could illuminate even the darkest paths. Her message was clear and urgent: know the signs. Trust your heart. And never let anyone fool you again. Emma's story was a living legacy, a beacon calling us all to stand strong, stay vigilant, and choose love over fear. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?